As many of you know, there are plenty of interpretations out there of what life might be like on other planets, as well as what it might be like if we as humans were able to find another planet to live on and colonize that. But what might that actually be like? Well, we really don't know, and not for lack of trying. Because NASA and others have been hard at work over the years trying to figure out what it might just be like for us on another world. And now, we might have a guess. Allow us to ask you, what would an alien Earth look like around the star next door? The study. In a new study, researchers predict what an alien Earth could really look like, and how it could evolve if one exists. In the search for evidence of life elsewhere in the universe, scientists have searched for planets similar to our own. Our closest stellar neighbor, the Alpha-Centauri system, holds an exoplanet that scientists think could be Earth-like, Proxima b. This exoplanet lies in the habitable zone, or Goldilocks zone, around its star, meaning it orbits its star at a distance that is close enough that liquid water could exist, without being so close to the star that the water vaporizes. In a new study, a team of scientists from the University ETH Zurich in Switzerland estimated what a rocky planet in the habitable zone in Alpha Centauri might really be like. The team modeled what a hypothetical rocky planet in the Alpha Centauri system's elemental composition might be. The researchers modeled this imaginary planet using real spectroscopic data on the chemical compositions of two of the system's three stars, Alpha Centauri A and Alpha Centauri B. These two stars are similar to our own Sun and orbit each other. The third, Proxima Centauri, is a smaller and fainter red dwarf and orbits the pair of larger stars. Red dwarf stars are the smallest and coolest type of main sequence star, as well as the most common type of star in the universe. Because the trio is so close to our own solar system, astronomers have extensively studied this system and its stars. So far, no one has spotted any confirmed planets around Alpha Centauri A or B, but scientists have identified 3 planet candidates around Proxima Centauri, sparking much debate over whether or not these worlds could be habitable. But this study homes in on what could be orbiting either of the system's 2 sun-like stars. Scientists know that these 2 stars contain rock-forming elements like iron, magnesium, and silicon, as well as volatiles like hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen. Volatiles are chemicals that can be easily vaporized. Using this existing data, the team investigated what rocky planets in orbit around the pair might be like, should any exist. Alpha-Cen-Earth. For this hypothetical planet, which they dubbed Alpha-Cen-Earth, the team estimated the planet's internal structure, mineralogy, and even its atmospheric composition, features that are of central importance to understanding its long-term evolution and potential habitability, according to a statement from ETH Zurich. And the researchers found that, if a rocky planet like this were to exist around one of these stars in the Alpha Centauri system, it would likely be geochemically similar to Earth. The scientists predict that Alpha-Cen-Earth would have a mantle rich in silicates and enriched by carbon-heavy materials like graphite and diamond. The researchers also think that such a planet's rocky interior would have similar water storage capacity to Earth's. However, this hypothetical exoplanet would have some stark differences from Earth, the team predicts. The scientists estimate that compared to Earth, this world would have a slightly larger iron core, less geological activity, and possibly no plate tectonics whatsoever. That's potentially not a bad thing, because those plates within our Earth may be what the continents are put upon. But they also are the reason for things like earthquakes, volcanoes, and more. But obviously, this isn't the only thing that we'd need to consider. The atmosphere. The researchers also estimated that in its early years, this planet's atmosphere would consist primarily of carbon dioxide, methane, and water. This finding points to the world's early atmosphere being very similar to what Earth was like 4 to 2.5 billion years ago when life first began on our planet. Of course, on our planet, the great oxygenation is what caused both the atmosphere to be filled with O2, but also wiped out a bunch of species on our planet due to the sudden overabundance of the compound. Whether Alpha-Cen-Earth has already gone through such a phase is unknowable, among other things, of course. While the research focuses on a hypothetical planet, these predictions allowed the team to explore what could exist based on concrete information we have about nearby star systems. As such, we can build up our own questions and theories about what is and isn't plausible on such a planet. So since we've already talked about the ground and the air, why don't we talk about the water? Without a doubt, the 2 things that scientists look for when trying to find a new Earth is an atmosphere that won't kill us when we try to breathe it, and water that we can use to our purposes. But that last one, in and of itself, is more important than you realize. And not because of the whole humans are made of water or even we need water to survive kind of deal, because that's an oversimplification. Yes, we're made of water, but we're long since over the need to have only water. We've made plenty of other tasty liquids to satisfy us, like milk, juice, soda pop, and so on. But when it comes to things like plants needing water to survive, that's still very true. And to that end, they need a specific kind of water to survive. Never forget that much like the ground we walk on and the air we breathe, there are different levels of water that we can find, and not all of them are good. Pop quiz. If you are on a tropical island and you stumble across a body of water, do you drink from it? The smart answer is no, because you don't know what's in that water and whether it'll help or hinder you. Fresh water is what we as humans and most plants prefer to have. This is non-salt water that has the right chemical balance to be refreshing and nurturing and help things grow. But if you put salt water on certain plants or a person tries to drink it, you're going to do more harm than good. And that speaks nothing of high pH water that is basically acidic to the touch. Something we know about very well here on Earth because we have plenty of places that have such bodies of water. So now, imagine a place like Alpha-Cen-Earth having a large body of water like Earth. But we find out it's acidic and thus can't be easily cleansed. Yes, we know how to remove the harmful pH levels from water, but it usually comes at a cost in the literal and figurative sense. And thus, us trying to live on a planet that has a good land base, a good atmosphere, but a very toxic water supply would be a very hard endeavor to make work. This is why it's been so hard to find the Goldilocks planet, because there are a lot of criteria that goes into making it a truly viable candidate. Though we do suppose that we need to ask the obvious question. Is there another Earth out in space? That is the very question that has stumped astronomers and more over the years, because at present, there's no way to say that there is, and there's no way to say that there isn't. Scientifically speaking, it would be an incredibly odd situation that a planet out there isn't like Earth almost completely, because there are other stars out there like ours, and all it would take, in theory, is the right planet to be formed in the right spot for things to go a similar way. And yet, despite all our looks into space, we found kind of similar planets and yet not ones that are truly like Earth. But given that the universe is a massive place, we can't in good conscience state that there are no other Earths out there, because the universe hasn't even been close to fully explored yet. We can barely get things out of our own solar system, let alone look at certain galaxies that are way off. That's why these theoretical models are being done, so that we can take a look at what we think we know, guess at how things might go, and then try to have some estimates by which to gauge other planets that we might find. Another Earth may be out there. We just don't know where yet, and if or when we'll ever be able to reach it. But that's not to say we should give up hope of finding it. It just means we have to look harder to see it. So what do you think? What do you think of this NASA projection of what an alien Earth might look like in a neighboring sector of space? Do you think that something like this really is the future of our species? Or do you think we need to find a truly worth place in order to colonize out in the stars? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you next time on the channel.